All right, so this is a very special installment of Death Drive 90.5 from WUSC-FM and HD1 Columbia, the official radio station of the University of South Carolina. I'm Schuler, and I am joined today by two musicians who have been an incredible influence on my life, who I am absolutely honored to have a conversation with today. Mr. Derek Roddy and Mr. Karl Sanders, two guys in death metal who need absolutely no introduction. We are here today to talk about some new work that you guys have done recently on the new EP that's coming out from Nader Sadek. How do you guys know him? When? How long has that connection been there?
Well, maybe I should go first with this one because I think I've been involved with Nader a little longer. So, you know, Nader reached out to me back in the end of 2015, I think, or 2016, about doing a show. And I had already been really familiar with like his artwork. We go back even earlier before we had met. I had helped Nader do some type of thesis for some type of school project involving like the mechanics of drumming and a couple of different things. So I knew of him and then started following his work, obviously, when the first record came out. And I was immediately kind of like, yeah, dude, because I'm not in a band. I'm not like playing full time. So the situation that he was asking me to do a few shows a year here and there, yeah, count me in, you know. So he just hit me up via email. We did a couple of shows together, and then we just became brothers, you know, for the most part, lack of a better word. Yeah, it's been a cool ride kind of ever since. You know, we've got a lot of stuff that we've done recording wise, and a lot of stuff's going to be coming out here this next year. So I'm really excited about it because it's some of the best like quality metal I've personally participated in, and even you know, some of this stuff is some of the best metal I've heard in a decade. So really excited, yeah, really excited about how some of it is turning out.
Awesome.
Karl, when did you actually meet Nader? Do you remember? Like,
yeah, it was in '98, and I think it was upstate New York in this shitty little venue. We were opening up with Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
And you know, it's upstate. I can't remember the exact name of the club, but Nader was there, right? And he came up and introduced me to himself. And well, like, you know, man, people will just come up to you and they introduce themselves, and you don't know if they're full of shit or if, you know, the crazy ass things they're saying have any validity whatsoever. So I took it with a grain of salt. But he kept getting in touch with me by email saying, dude, blah, blah, blah. Here's my this, sending me pictures of this, video of that. Here's this music thing I did. I'm like, wow, this guy is for real. I thought he was nuts, but no, he wasn't. And he turned out to be such a cool guy that, you know, you had to love him. So we stayed in touch. In about 2007, he was going to do this thing at the New York Metropolitan, where he had various death metal guys come play his music, and it was some artistic thing, it was, you know, multimedia. He wanted me to do it, and I wanted to do it, but I couldn't do it because I was busy touring.
That's always the case.
Yeah. So I couldn't.
Now, but
yeah, not now. So we kept in touch, and we always said, yeah, we got to find a way to work together. We got to find a way to do something together. And then when he approached me with this thing, I said, yeah, Derek's going to come over. So that's when that came up, and I was like, fuck yeah. It just so happens it's going to be Michelle and I's anniversary, the time we would be in Cairo. So we were like, okay, this makes a pretty good 11-year anniversary. Go to Cairo, play some music, see the pyramids.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, right? One of the coolest thing, you know, jumping from how you guys know Nader to getting involved with this project specifically. I was looking at the press release, and I've been chatting with Nader about some of the recording that went into this. Tell us about the trip over there, and then tell us about what appears to be some very unique locations that were chosen to do this recording. Karl, I know that Egypt is very important to you, man. If you want to start off, and Derek, feel free to chime in anywhere.
Well, I think the most fun days when we went down to Sakaro, which is like this big complex. It's got like so much stuff, like some of the first pyramids ever built. It's got the SERAPEUM. It's got the tomb of Unis, which was closed that day. I saw the sign. We're in,
Yeah,
in the Uber,
I took a picture
and I saw
of it.
this sign, tomb of Unis. So I'm like, closed.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. So we went to a whole bunch of stuff that day, and we actually went inside the pyramid where Nader came back and recorded his vocals. We all went down in there together, and it was amazing, dude.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That honestly, that was life changing. To be completely honest, for me, it was just something about the aura of the place, and something about even the sand out there doesn't feel right. You know, it's so like devastating. The landscape, you know, it's almost like, and this makes no sense, but it's almost like a million years ago, like a nuclear bomb went off out there.
I believe it. I absolutely
you know what
believe
I mean?
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah,
Well,
I thoroughly believe that shit, Derek. I absolutely believe it.
I do too.
One of the things that I think is really interesting specifically, and this is, I'm going to get nerdy here for a second, but I really do think that there is some sort of significance to places and spaces and the things that have happened there and the length of time that they have sort of been peopled, right? Egypt is an ancient area. Humanity's been there for a really long time. Area's seen a whole lot of ups and downs, you know, politically, health-wise, culture-wise. And so to be there specifically to create art in such an interesting and rich heritage, I would think would be pretty amazing. Especially to play this kind of music, right? To play extreme, heavy, technical death metal.
Yeah, it was neat. I mean, being able to see the sights, and then we would come back to a rehearsal area and just kind of jam and work on riffs a little bit and try to put stuff together, and just having that rich input, you know, made for a rich output, you know. And that was like the wonderful thing about it to me. I was really like satisfied musically, you know, from being there. And we also, Karl, we went to like a musical exorcism from like these tribes people. They have been playing the same songs for like what, 1,000 years or more. Like
exactly.
Mind blowing. Yeah,
it was mind blowing, dude. A lot of that stuff that we saw and we learned and we absorbed that night, and also the night we went and saw the musical Whirling Dervish thing, that other one. Both of those, dude, profound musical lessons, totally mind blowing.
Yeah, there was a point in time where I looked up while we were at this, you know, watching these tribes people play these, basically, like I said, like exorcism type songs and spiritual enrichment kind of stuff, you know. And I looked over at Mahmoud and then Nader, and I couldn't really see Karl and Michelle too well, but all of us we were just cheers, and like I looked around the whole room, and everybody in the whole room was in cheers. I mean, it was like, but it wasn't like, it was a beautiful thing. It was a happy kind of like, I walked out of there feeling different as a human being than I did when I went in.
Dude, that is amazing. That sounds like such an experience, you know?
It was mind blowing. Like I said, that whole trip was life changing. And I think all of us, I mean, you know, Karl and I have talked about this because we go back many, many, many years. And just, I think that every human being on earth has some type of draw to those type of places. You know what I mean? Just for the cultural aspect of it. And anybody that's been there, you know, comes back like, wow, you know, I know nothing of the world. You know, when it really comes down to it, you know, we don't really know much. So it was a great experience. Yeah. Thank you, Nader, for getting us there. You know,
you know, I've spoken with him a few times about him having you guys over there, and it's like talking to. We're both major death metal nerds, and so hearing and talking about sort of that experience, you can tell how excited he was. And I am curious about sort of how that collaboration process went, right? You guys are both, you know, what I would certainly consider world-class musicians. You guys are both sort of foundational characters in this genre. And both of you have very extensive writing histories of your own. So what sort of about this writing process was maybe different, or was there anything that was different this time around?
I would say the biggest thing for me anyway was the not pre-planning everything in advance. This was more about when you put us in a room together, what is going to come out? What's going to happen from this moment with these people? I know with all the other bands we've worked with, Derek, in all their forms, playing death metal, it's highly structured. You really plan things out, you know, to the nth degree, because you got to. There's a lot of moving parts at high tempos and complex arrangements. So it necessitates a lot of pre-planning. But with this, it wasn't about that. It was about, here's these 4 guys in a room. Let's make some music. What do we got?
Old school.
It is, though, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
like...
that's how we grew up doing it. I mean, Karl and I, we go back to at least 89 or 90, 91, somewhere in there, you know.
Yep.
And we've been threatening to do shit together ever since then. I still have tapes of me and you jamming from back then.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Awesome.
I just listened to one the other day, actually, and me, you, and Jason Hayden.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got, you know, we go back a good way, and we've always been threatening. And I was, the moment, you know, Nader brought it up, I was like, bro, you know, if you get us over there, you know, this is gonna be some cool stuff that's gonna happen. And he was like totally like a little kid. I mean, all of us, you know, we were all like, Egypt, you know. It was a cool experience, you know. Yeah. But the process for me wasn't much different. The only guys I'm jamming with right now is my band, Serpent's Rise, outside of what I'm doing with Nader. And, you know, we do just that. We come in here, we jam, and we record stuff, and be like, oh, that was cool. And we kind of, that's kind of how I've always put music together. So for me, it was real easy. And like I said, Karl and I are familiar with Duggar. We know how we play very well together, you know. So it wasn't any kind of like, very natural. So we weren't like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. I mean, that whole song came together in a matter of like 18 hours, you know, just overnight basically. And, you know, so it was an easy thing to do. You know,
well, we had the song had its premiere a couple of days ago on Decibel. Did you say SERAPEUM, Karl? That's the way you pronounce it? SERAPEUM Polluted Waters. And as I understand it, there are a couple of different versions on there, and they're separated by this really interesting experiment with recording inside of a sarcophagus. And that sort of brings us back around with, you know, the writing process, and with you guys as individual musicians sort of coming together to do this in the old school, get everybody in a room type way. One of the people who was in the room this time around is this really interesting blend of artistry, which is how I think of Nader and his work, specifically because, you know, he's such a big fan of this music. And if you look at the stuff that's got his name attached to it, obviously there are a lot of big names in death metal who trust this guy and trust his artistic vision. What was it like sort of working with a guy who is not necessarily coming at this as a musician first? You know, he's got this incredible background as a visual artist. He's got this really amazing cultural repertoire of both Egyptian and American culture. So sort of how was writing and working with him as a musician?
Go, Karl.
Go ahead, Derek.
Okay. You know, Nader's very easy to do this with, because he kind of just throws out an idea and he just sits back and, you know, and see what happens. It's like, he's like, I guess, the referee at a basketball game. When somebody makes a foul or whatever, it always goes to the ref, and the ref that gives you back the ball or whatever. That's kind of like, that's how I see Nader. You know, he's throwing out these ideas. He'll throw out like a riff idea, you know, like, oh, I was thinking about, you know, this kind of feel for a bridge, and then it's up to us or whoever, you know, he's working with to kind of interpret that and spit it back out at him. But then a lot of it as well is stuff that, like, it was totally me and Karl and Mahmoud, you know. So he's got a good way of kind of giving you the ball and then letting you kind of play most of the game with it, you know, which is, that's again, very natural and very easy to do, I think.
I'd agree that natural, that ease, that, hey, here's the ball, do something with it. And whatever we did, you know, if it was going to work, it was going to work. If it didn't work, well, okay, just do something else. It was that easy. There's like no, like usually in a band, like there's people pushing, I got these ideas. And this other guy's going, I got these ideas. And then it's always a force, you know, pushing on things until it evolves into, you know, a compacted form that's, okay, here's the song. But it wasn't like that. It was wonderfully freeing. Just, okay, let's try this idea. I got this idea. Let's try it. Boom. That simple, that easy. It's like being set free. Like you got these chains, you know, finally someone takes the chains off and says, here, go do what you want to do.
Yeah, that was good.
And you can definitely tell, like listening to the song, I feel like there's a lot of it, you know, it feels like there are a number of other influences that are coming in, sort of just because I'm particularly familiar with you guys playing, and I'm also familiar with the past work that Nader's done, even though this is the first time he's contributed lead vocals on a record.
Man, I've watched him get so good just playing with him and doing live shows over the last like 3 years, 4 years, man, just because he hated doing it at first, and he didn't want to be doing it, and he was like, oh man, my voice, and just to watch him actually, you know, work on it and become like the version of himself, and that's neat to watch with anybody. You know what I mean? I love watching guys like, you know, become this monster musician over years, and that's like one of my favorite things to witness being in a band. Just watching the people you play with become absolute monsters, you know. That's something
that goes
I think
both ways.
Yeah, I guess it can. But yeah, I mean, he it's just, again, it's like an easy thing to do with him, you know. So, and he just became an actual vocalist, you know. And when he sent me I had to listen to it a couple times. I was like, I could tell that's Nader, but I was almost even like not convinced. You know what I mean? I was like, man, this sounds like really good. I texted him immediately. I was like, man, your voice sounds really good on this. And he was like, oh man, thanks. You know, but I love seeing that. I like that. You know,
I like how, since Nader isn't coming at it from the same traditional metal band guy angle, right? All his phraseology, the way he does things, the way he sees it, it's completely different than, you know, your run-of-the-mill metalhead guy. You know what he's going to expect. You know he's going to open his mouth on the downbeat, and he's going to sing on the downbeat, you know, some quarter notes, and well, there you go. That's what you got.
Yeah.
Right. But not Nader. He's coming at it from this totally other different perspective.
Yeah.
So they don't sound like everybody else. He's definitely his own unique musical character with his own thing he's adding in there. It's really refreshing to me.
And on the subject of that, it seems like so much of, you know, we were talking about place earlier, and then we were talking about sort of Nader coming at this from a different angle. It seems like so much of the recording process was sort of steeped and rooted in these very historical spaces and these really sort of interesting and kind of unconventional ways of recording. How much of that stuff was in place before you guys got there, before you guys got involved? Like, did you show up in Egypt and Nader was like, hey, we're going to a tomb real quick and we're going to record some shit in there? Or like, did you guys actually do the recording in those structures? I'm curious about how all that came together.
I wasn't part of that. Nader circled back around after we had already left.
Oh, okay.
And recorded those vocals. We just went there, right? We all went there. There's you know, the four of us down there, right? And we're talking. And we're in this you know, room underneath the friggin' pyramid, you know, a couple 100 feet down, and there's, you know, millions of tons of blocks of granite above our heads, but there's this amazing ambience and reverb that you're not going to hear anywhere else. It's unique to this, that just makes everything have its own magic. it's hard to explain in exact words, but it's a tangible thing you can feel in the air when you're in that room and you hear someone speaking in there. It's like you're in the place of the gods and you are talking to, somebody that's going to hear you in the great beyond. I don't know exactly who.
Yeah.
But you feel that shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can feel it on your neck. You can feel it on your arms. It's friggin' real. So,
Yeah.
he was like a kid going, oh man, listen to my voice. Oh, listen to this. Doing a, death metal growls in this sacred ancient place.
Yeah.
Which is in itself a blasphemy. He could have gone to jail for that shit. Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to jail in Egypt, though.
No.
You don't want to do that.
But we did actually record some stuff down there. I mean, I've got recordings of all of us like doing like growls and different things. Karl, do you remember that the guard there at the pyramid came down because he heard all of this and it spooked him out and he kicked us out of there? He was like, "You guys got to go."
Yeah.
And
that ain't no easy walk because you got to bend over. The shaft is 3 foot by maybe 3.5 foot.
Yeah.
Right, and it's up at a steep angle. Right, going down is actually challenging, but going back up because you're bent over, you're hunched, right, and you have to just keep going.
Yeah.
You can't stop. You have to go all the way up through that long shaft. Hundreds of yards.
It had to be 175 or 200. Like almost 2 football fields when you think about it. Like, yeah, it was pretty exercise friendly.
I can imagine. I'm a pretty claustrophobic person, man. I don't think that particular trek would be for me. Maybe being down there, but the getting down there and the getting out sounds fucking.
Man, I wish that I could. I know that there is a way that you could share a video on here, and I wish I knew how to do it on Zoom. Yeah. But I have a video of me coming down and getting to the very bottom, and you can see in my face that I was just like changed just from going down there. Yeah. And I turned the camera around and look up the shaft, and these guys are coming down, and they're all hunched over, and everybody's got like this look of terror on their face. It's hilarious, man. So cool.
What? Okay, so in a perfect world, obviously we are dealing with unprecedented times right now regarding the music industry, regarding the live industry, the tour industry, and touring is an incredibly important part of being in sort of an underground death metal band or being in a very popular death metal band as well. Barring sort of not knowing what the future holds, would this be the kind of thing, this project and the other stuff that you guys have recorded that we are going to get to hear later, would this be the kind of thing that you guys would consider touring in the future if you got the chance? Would that be something that you'd be interested in, or maybe putting on some sort of really sort of visually oriented live show? Maybe 1 or 2 of them, like Nader set up with his groups in the past. Would that be something that might ever happen? Do you think, without me holding you guys to anything?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I already do shows with Nader all over the place, so
yeah.
Right.
For me, it wouldn't be a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I'm always game to play music.
Awesome. All right. Well, I got a couple more questions for you guys. The record sounds awesome. The song that I've heard from it, I absolutely cannot wait to hear the whole thing, and I really hope that it gets the eyes on it that it deserves. Now let's talk a little bit about where we all are right now in the lovely state of South Carolina. We're going to have, this is going to be on WUSC in Columbia. It's going to be broadcasting on FM radio in the area, and then it's also going to be available on our YouTube channel. So I want to run through some South Carolina stuff with you guys real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Ron Thurman.
Oh, man.
That's so not that South Carolina stuff. Pleasantries. All
That's
right,
going back a ways. Yeah.
Yeah, that is going back a ways, but not if you go around Columbia. It's still very much present.
I got a better one. Karl, go Joe.
Oh.
I don't know.
Dude, when I tell those stories about you and her, people don't believe me. Right? They don't believe that a human being could do those fucking things. Wow.
Do I want to know? Is this something that we can talk about? No, we gotta put it on. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Another day.
Okay. We'll go to some tamer shit. Boiled peanuts. Boiled peanuts. What's the score?
Oh man, Carl, give us some boiled peanuts, man.
Well, when you drive up into the mountains, the way to the Blue Ridge Mountains or going to Asheville, you see, they're selling on the side of the road, and you know what? If you stop and they're fresh, okay, it's delicious. I think that's where they're meant to be experienced in that.
So you're saying you don't like you're not a fan of the tepid gas station slime boiled peanuts?
But we're on radio. They probably can't see the face I'm making right now.
It's rough though, man. I moved here in 2014, and like as soon as we were driving here from Arkansas, and as soon as we crossed the line from Georgia into South Carolina, boiled peanuts everywhere. Like every single sign said that. I was like, I got to give this a try, man. But are either of you guys the type of dude who puts boiled peanuts in Coke? Because apparently that's a thing.
Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I'm not native to here either, right? I moved here as a teenager from Northern California. So a lot of the things that are indigenous to South Carolina are not necessarily things that I understand or embrace.
So that's a no. That's a no on the Coke peanuts. Derek, how you feel about it?
All right, so look, what's funny about this whole conversation with boiled peanuts is my dad would make them fresh, like almost every Sunday.
Really?
He would go get them, and he didn't like the big ones. He likes the smaller ones. Are there's something different about them. So like he would get like the small ones locally at the local stand or whatever, bring them home, and we'd boil them ourselves. And that was like still to this day, every time I go home to see them up in Myrtle Beach, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get some boiled peanuts." I'm like, "Yes," but I don't like them anywhere else. Like if somebody else boils them or does it, I don't really care for them. As long as my dad or my brother does it or I do it, I'm cool with that.
Highly individualized consumer of boiled peanuts. All right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Next question: Cookout or Bojangles?
Oh man, that's a tough one. And when you mean cookout, do you mean actual cookout, or are you talking about the restaurant cookout?
I'm talking about the restaurant with the charred ass hamburgers. This is a huge.
We got one on the way to the band room, right? Our band room rehearsal room is down at the Five Forks, the end of Woodruff Road, and there's one on the way. So it's like, if George is in town, we're rehearsing, we have to fucking stop there. Like,
George is a big Cookout fan.
He loves it. Dude, he loves it. That whole row of restaurants, right, on the way to the band room down Woodruff Road.
Yep.
Dude, it's like torment for him because, it's American.
They get none of that. Yeah, they get none of that. Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so Cookout it is then. All right.
That or it would be a tie for me, I think, because I love that damn dirty rice at Bojangles, man. Oh my god,
that is pretty awesome.
I can get in it. You know what I mean? And like roll around. And, oh man, that's some good stuff.
That's what the picnic size is for. So you can be excessive and you can wear as much of it as you eat. I'm a big fan of the home style tenders box myself.
Oh yeah.
All right. Next question. We are in a very contentious area when it comes to barbecue sauce. Where do you gentlemen fall? Are you mustard people, vinegar people, or red people?
I like the mustard myself. Like
you have adopted a little Carolina, huh?
I didn't even know what barbecue was until I moved here.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't even realize what it was. It's not something California people eat.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't even know it existed. Right?
Very passionate about it around these parts.
Yeah. I like all of the above. I mean, I'm good. I like Maurice's vinegar based. The mustard base is good, but I like it all, to be honest. My mom actually makes a really, really good one. I guess you could consider it a yellow mustard based kind of barbecue sauce, and I grew up on that. So yeah, for me, I kind of have a tendency to lean yellow too.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm an all of the above man too. I came here sort of a traditionalist, looking for like red barbecue sauce with a little bit of honey, a little bit of molasses in it. My wife is from North Carolina, so I ended up getting sort of turned on to the mustard stuff and turned on to the vinegar stuff. But really, at this point, I can take any of it. All right, last question. This is very, very important. Even if you don't care, you got to answer. And no matter what my affiliation is, you got to answer honestly. It's Sunday. It's game day. It's U of SC and Clemson. Who you got?
Clemson. Sorry. Sorry.
All right. Hey, honesty is the best policy.
Dude,
I invited this on myself.
Hey, and to be completely fair, I don't care. I'm not a sports fan at all. I might watch the Super Bowl, maybe, only because everybody else doesn't care. It's just because we were a Clemson household, man. That's just, it comes down to that.
Yeah.
Me who has I could give two craps either way, you know what I mean? But if somebody asks, Clemson, you know, and that's just a household thing, you know.
I love you too much to judge you for it, man. Karl, where do you stand? You got a stance?
You know, my stance is vehemently, like, if you make me answer that, I'll probably punch you in the face because I'm tired of it. I live on a cul-de-sac. On one side of me, they're Clemson fans. The other side, they're Carolina fans. So every time there's a fucking game, there's all these flags, posters, mailboxes everywhere. People like, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I don't give a fuck about your stupid fucking football game or anything else. Yeah. Fuck you. I'm gonna practice guitar.
So we're gonna go with a firm undecided for that one, I think. Excellent. Well, guys, so excited to hear the rest of the SERAPEUM, the Nader Sadek record that's coming out next month. It was absolutely an honor to talk to both of you. Again, like I said, I'm a huge fan of your work in the past, and I absolutely love the stuff that you're doing right now. Karl, Sanders, Derek, Roddy, thank you guys so much for your time. Best of luck in the future. Best of luck in the pandemic, and we hope to hear from you guys soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.